So I have right here a review of the first 5 minutes of Power Rangers Megaforce for like the 5th or 10th anniversary, whatever it is. And I could only get up to 5 minutes because it was a little bit unbearable. And I'll get into why in a little bit. Let me see my notes. So let me have a little bit of an intro. I recently watched Marvel Live. My brother criticized me for it. Keep in mind he's a Disney fan, not just Disney World and Pixar, but Walt Disney himself. Mr. Rogers, Jim Henson, George Lucas, those kind of characters. People. He hates Power Rangers. He took it back after... He took back saying that he didn't like Marvel Live. Basically after they got rid of the Spider-Man stuff, the bug puns, Electro. Being Electro like most of his bad incarnations that nobody likes him with. And people hated Amazing Spider-Man 2. Imagine the other ones. Anyway. Watching Power Rangers Megaforce obviously wasn't going to help my case with my brother not liking Power Rangers. Hating Power Rangers, etc. So yeah, Power Rangers Megaforce. Originally I thought it wasn't that bad of a debut. Then rewatching the first 5 minutes became very painful. I mean, it was a good start. Like, you know, starting on the actual first episode, unlike Samurai, which confuses the crap out of everybody. And in a business perspective, wasn't a good idea either. And in a business perspective, wasn't a good idea either. And Super Mega Force didn't copy the scenes, scene for scene, opposed to just using a Power Rangers edit of Super Sentai footage. Samurai did it in a way that made Gus Van Sant's Psycho seem really good and probably praised by all the critics who liked it. You have to remember that Samurai was so bad it was to the point where they had to give credit to the Japanese writer Yasuko Kobayashi because like they didn't do anything original with it, pretty much almost. But in any case, Power Rangers Samurai could have been better, and this episode of Power Rangers Megaforce could have been better. Does it help this episode sort of doesn't actually do exactly the same as Gokaiger? Actually, it doesn't help that this episode sort of actually does exactly what Gokaiger started with also, even though it's Goseiger footage mainly. But at least Megaforce didn't recreate the shot, scene for scene, scene shot for shot. Well, what they did probably was done for financial reasons, not for any artistic merit or anything. So in any case, the episode starts off in a dream. Something I'll get into in a later episode of how interesting ends up falling on his face because of awful incompetence. And I don't know. That's what I wrote in the beginning of my notes, but quite honest, it's all of this episode too. It just wasn't as obvious to me, at least. It was a little bit more subtle of a fuck up. And it was interesting because I didn't notice that they screwed up yet. But in any case, the episode, much like most Neo SABAN homages to Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, are out of date. All the problems with Neo SABAN era is that pretty much everyone's seen the Super Sentai versions, like in 1982. You can't just edit Japanese footage into US footage and expect people not to notice. It's been like 13 years since it was PD, 12 years, 15 years, 14 years, whatever it is. People know. You can watch it on YouTube. There are Japanese advertisements for Toei on YouTube. It's not banned here. You can watch that. Not to mention the footage being done that well, or edited that well. So, the whole dream idea. There's 3 years after Inception, 2010, where a dream within a dream happened. Limbo, Falling Totem, etc. 1999, 14 years ago, The Matrix happened. The Matrix came out, lesser known. Lesser known, Stanley Kubrick and Eyes Wide Shut covered it a bit as well. Eyes Wide Shut was based off a story called A Dream Story. The Matrix had the whole Alice in Wonderland thing going on among other films, and psychological, corporate stuff, etc. And to say the very least, you can tell that it was made by Saban. They were art films. Freddy Krueger was a little bit more commercial, and was done in the 1980s. Obviously had an influence on Inception, especially when you heard about the draft where Christopher Nolan originally wrote Inception as a horror film. The two were heavily compared by a YouTube critic Rob Agger a lot. Heck, this episode even starts with a scene on a school bus that could have been an obvious homage to some of the Nightmare on Elm Street stuff, except they didn't do a jump scare there. What they had to go for, not relevant to the episode, so good thing they didn't do it. Good sign so far. 5 years prior, which I'll get into a little bit later in 2018, 2013 anniversaries, Master Mao was played by an actor from the Matrix trilogy. The weakest of the trilogy, some say, but they definitely could have done so with it. Even in Jungle Fury, which I'll mention a little bit now. Have him be the Cheshire Cat, Master Mao, compared to Tiger Lily, Leo Theo, and the Red Ranger. Would have been an interesting tie on RJ's character with the purple cat, like in the Disney Alice in Wonderland, while Disney owned Power Rangers at the time. Like in Disney didn't do a Cinderella thing during Operation Overdrive, so whatever. They did do a pirate. Let's digress. Also, nothing they could really do since the Japanese footage had the Power Ranger as a wolf based Power Ranger power. His Zord was a wolf. I never liked that about the show, Geki or Jungle Fury, but I digress. Over here or there. Anyway, as I detract myself and don't want to talk about Power Rangers Megaforce, which I'll get into why in a moment. But that moment isn't here. So anyway, they sort of screw up the voiceover of the bus driver yelling without actually being in the shot. In addition, talking about Troy, talking about stuff not in sync with how he would think. It doesn't look good cinematically, at least, but whatever, it's fine. Dream, that's could be a future premonition of stuff to do, like Orkel of Delphi stuff. Could be even a Zoom Ranger homage with like the Greek statues and the Zoom Ranger base and the Minotaur, and it could be something like that. Something else that's weird in the episode, which I'll get into right now. Why is the first day of Troy at school? It seemed odd. They were samurai warriors, doesn't save the world, and they knew each other before. Troy is on his first day of school. Samurai at least had his own thing going in the beginning, where there's a connection between the Rangers, like in Mighty Morphin. Like in the 2017 movie, they didn't do that, but that was fine. It's fine here too, but although it wasn't. Both instances, you want to do a risk that's better than the original. 2017 was okay, was a pretty good movie, but I didn't think that aspect of it made it that great. And I guess it works here, but not quite. It seems anticlimactic to have them. I understand that people have senioritis in senior year, but have them have Armageddon in the sophomore year doesn't really make any sense. I guess it's like an elementary school thing where like, oh, you start school the first day and stuff, and I probably had that too when I was younger. But in the terms of the actual episode and Troy arc, it doesn't make any sense. Not to mention that this won't work with teens as well with elementary school children, although I do understand that's the main audience for the series. This is like a detail I noticed, nothing groundbreaking, like say Noah in episode 8, but we'll get to that later. So yeah, First day of high school. Seemed odd. Also, like, they never bring up how the Rangers got to know each other. Everyone besides Troy. Troy being the new. They don't really even establish that Troy's the new kid in school that much. At least from the first 5 episodes I've seen. First 5 minutes I just saw. Okay. Again, could be better, could be worse, but not awful. Just a little bit of detail that's more pet peevey than actually annoying. So let me get to the disaster of the classroom scene. It starts off really tacky, and I'm not just. I am sort of talking about the professor's stereotype outfit and costume and beard and facial hair and everything. Let's get to that. Stereotypes from like. I don't even know if they had these stereotypes in the 80s or 90s with like Mighty Morphin, Saved by the Bell. They sort of wore 90s clothes and most of like this 50s stuff. And then they don't even ask real high school questions. And this question is sort of nuts. What species will outlive all other species? And I felt very uncomfortable with this because of how people, what kind of people would ask those kind of questions in real life. This makes it worse because like they had a good premise to start off the show and then it just falls downhill from there. Whereas Samurai just sort of, it wasn't that bad in the beginning ever, but like it felt a lot worse. It really felt like it felt like some sort of Orion thing, and it didn't feel. First off, there's a character named Orion in the show, and it's more common this is an actual attempt, but like I don't know, it got me thinking like the room where the Troll 2 stuff where I'm thinking like maybe they're doing something really deep, even though it's like really dark, and maybe question stuff like, do we raise our hands because of like some sort of Nazi thing or something? And it's very weird. But in any case, the Pink Ranger raises her hand. It says insects will outlive all other species. Let's go into that a little bit. They don't go into Beetleborgs. They don't go into other Toku shows. They don't go into Kamen Rider about this. And to be fair, at least they don't have her like making insect noises and act like Dex and yell like Dex, like an insect. So you don't have that. Her delivery is really bad though. Like, you're supposed to appeal to elementary school children, I guess, but like, it feels weird. She talks about how bugs have a bunch of legs, and then talks about a butterfly. She goes to the butterfly thing later, and it's just very weird. I don't know if this is some sort of Nickelodeon deal where it's like some 90s slime time creep out answer, but it just doesn't feel like a real answer. Even it does come across that she's a nature lover, and when I watched it this time, it didn't even feel apparent to me that she was a nature lover. Like, I just felt like she was just weird. Like, I understand why she picked that answer, because maybe because the question was so bad and I didn't want anyone to answer that question. And I started questioning my sanity, like what's going on in this scene. And then Noah's answer, columns later, makes it even worse. I thought the dream scientific answer in episode 8 or whatever was bad, but this starts off really bad in the episode 1. He says robots will outlive other robots, and I'm like, robots? This is what you're teaching elementary school children? Before we go all left, and I can be all left, and you could pull this off, an android made of living organs or something, but you can't just use that as the answer. Robots, or a living creature that can outlive other living creatures, because that's not technically true. People going to science class know the two most common answers that teachers give about what can't be living creatures and what you should question: robots and viruses. They can't use their original organs to create new species, so that takes away what I just said about androids even. But he doesn't even do that. He just randomly throws out robots because, science people like robots or something, which is flawed logic and doesn't really make sense in terms of actual smart people. But okay, whatever. I've lost 10 strands of hair now. I didn't even notice this is the first time I watched the show, so whatever. Perpetual motion devices? Okay, those don't even exist. Even Homer Simpson makes fun of it in this thermodynamics quote. But whatever. And then I'm confused even more. Yellow Ranger gives the scientific answer. Yellow Ranger gives the scientific answer, which is sorely poorly presented. But at least it tells the kids the right answer. Although the kids won't know that because the non-nerdy kid says it. And not to mention, the Blue Ranger opposes to what she says, so probably it's not true or something. Whatever. And then Troy comes in. And this is confusing too. The teacher doesn't go, "Why are you late?" or go to the principal's office, or "Do you have a doctor's note?" or something like a real teacher would. I realize this inconveniences the plot and pacing, but then again, what's the purpose of him coming late? Why couldn't he just join the class on time, and then we won't have the problem? I think I'm right? And then he gives what I've worried about the answer of this question, and it says humans. We can accomplish everything. We can accomplish anything. Like, what's that supposed to mean? Can we create bugs and editors that outlive humans? Because that's accomplishing anything too. Well, I don't also get why the teacher says this is a brain teaser. Because I felt like I've lost more brain cells trying to figure out this question, or at least listening to these answers. I mean, there's more brain cells. This is not Picasso art or something. Like, okay, whatever. Let's move on. So they introduce the villains. And, like, they sort of don't do anything. And it's sort of painfully boring to watch them talk, and let me just get into what they say a little bit. They invade Earth because they feel like humans are weaker. This would have been alright if they had just cut out the awful classroom scene, where the Rangers just declared humans as the most powerful species of all time, or whatever they said, with no real science behind it, and for some odd reason, we have to support the Rangers somehow this way, the same Rangers that protect monsters and save monsters, and have plenty of evidence of this going through the show for like 20 years or whatever. Not to mention, like, what about other characters in the Power Rangers series? Even Mighty Morphin. Zordon. Is Zordon a human? He's an alien. And let's talk about how long some of these beings have lived. Zordon's lived like 5,000 years at least. Rita. Tenso. Like, have you ever watched Mighty Morphin? Have you watched any Power Rangers series when you were writing the scripts? And this was directed by Traxor, and I'll get into that in a moment too. So we get introduced to Tenso, and he's like, I don't remember if it was this episode, but he lived 5,000 years. So I think what's the point of that I ended up seeing. Walter, Donnie, dude. I can't say that. It's not the issue here. I was wondering after Lynn took back the series, like, was all the success because of Lynn and was Traxor? Because, like, the Lynn series aren't that great either. And I realized Saban screws up everything, and so maybe Pactor or something did something with the series, but, like, no, Lynn did better stuff than this Megaforce series and the Super Samurai series and the Samurai series and the regular Megaforce series. And this time, I don't know what's going on. Like, my first time viewing this, I'm like, alright, Traxor did it, so he did a better job than the previous director did. And I'm really fearing what would happen if I had watched that that season again. Because, like, I'm already having mental breakdown just going through, like, I don't even know how far this is in already. But I got up to 5 minutes and I just had to quit. Drexler, Jonathan Drexler puts his freaking, I don't even know what kind of name that is, but in any case, Jonathan Drexler puts his freaking name in the freaking credits on this episode of that awful scene in the classroom. Okay, so he probably kept that scene in because, like, there's some sanity there. He kept the scene in because he has to keep the episode a certain length. So, DVD cut, get rid of the scene, okay, fine. But, oh my gosh, that scene is so bad. There's some sanity there, but insanity. Anyway, so I see the Yellow Ranger talk to the Pink Ranger, and I can't figure out their names, about what she eats. And it's like sort of a creepy scene also. Like the Yellow Ranger doesn't look at all, and then she just walks away from the Pink Ranger without, saying bye. How rude. And then they put some effort in a tracking shot on the Yellow Ranger to the Black Ranger shot, and he's like drinking water, and then I mean there's some production value involved in it, like effort, because they had to do the tracking shot and then cut and edit and all that stuff. But like first off, they put all that effort in one shot, and they don't do that in like the classroom scene prior. And I'll get into why this scene is also like very creepy, and I don't know why it was shot this way, or given so much effort, although it's not that well done. There's all these extras that were just sort of distracting in the shot. Like, it's not bad, but it's sort of the effort. There is a lot, yet why is there a lot? And whatever, I'll let it go. I don't know. I do find it funny that the Black Ranger is staring down, sitting down with his butt in a certain position while drinking the water. And then his shot goes from the eyes to the back of the Yellow Ranger. And then the camera goes to, like, from the feet to higher. Although it could have been worse by just going straight up to the butt shot, which is what they were implying anyway. And so he stares. And I wonder if Nickelodeon would have proved that shot, especially the new SABAN kid-oriented show. Like, how maybe Nickelodeon, who I agree and horribly dislike having added this additional 3 years to the contract, approved the show, or that shot in the show, with no censors. But in any case, it's also a little weird. Like, the only thing we know about Jake at this point is that he likes the Yellow Ranger. He says that she's smart, but on the other hand, you have the shot of him implying that he looked at her butt. That's not PG. And I guess it's Y7, but I don't know, it's not really a good introduction to the Power Rangers in this show. They're a bunch of teens, they don't really have attitude, they're not really admirable. I guess it's empathetic to do that as an audience member, but I don't know. Like, we just had I don't get what's going on. Like, this is it's not even Michael Bay fun, or like it's very gratuitous. It's like you'd have to notice this when you're like a film major or something. But this is like a show for kids, so like what's the point of the shot? In any case, in addition, she knows that robots aren't living beings. And that's the only thing I know about Jake liking the Yellow Ranger. So that's pretty low standards. And I don't know. They could, maybe if it was done more over the top or comical or delivered better, but it's weird. And then it gets even more awkward. The Blue Ranger calls the Yellow Ranger the hottest girl in school. And he just criticized her for saying robots outlive humans, which is wrong. So he's sort of a mansplainer. Not to mention that, does this imply he's not above staring at her butt or something? And then before that, he said the Black Ranger says, "Let's motor." Is that a Cali reference? Possibly. But I sort of get sick and tired of all the wiki articles talking about Power Ranger cities being in Cali. Like, even if that's in the show, like, who cares about the actual? That's like a OCD thing. Like, I don't think. Who cares if it's in Cali or not? Not to mention, it's in New Zealand now. This is a fictional universe. What's a Cali in a universe that has Angel Grove and aliens and Zordon and etc.? Not to mention, why is it important that they have to drive to get some froyo? And don't get me started on the froyo. So they introduce Ernie's as Ernie's brain freeze in this low piece of dialogue. And it's a little bit weird. Like, why do I care that it's not a good introduction to Ernie's being introduced as Ernie's brain freeze? Like, you don't actually see Ernie, and why should I care about Ernie's? It's coming from Jake and the other Ranger, and I don't know who they are, so why would I care about them going to Ernie's? Why do I care about Froyo? Let's not get into that. So they even have the shot of it called the brain freeze, but I watched the whole show and it was like 2 seasons long, and I don't recall it being called the brain freeze, Ernie's brain freeze. My brain's hurting and not freezing in any case. So then they cut back to the villains, and I don't know who the heck they are or what their purpose is, and they're not really acted well and have this very wooden performance. So they say the Earth is ready to invade, and then they're not sure because of the humans. What are they talking about? Make up your mind. Like, so is the Earth ready to invade or not? Are you sure or not? Are the humans strong or not? You just said you wanted to invade the Earth because you thought the humans were weak. Why am I getting upset and yelling over these two sentences? I have better stuff to do. This Power Rangers feeling. It doesn't pay enough. At all. And I'm doing this. This is very bad. I don't get... So, before they said they wanted to invade Earth because they thought Earth was weak. And then the other guy said he's not sure if he's going to invade the Earth because he's afraid the humans are strong. So they can't establish in these, like, two senses of dialogue, prior to another sense of dialogue, where the humans are strong or weak. How bad is their scouting and intelligence? Why don't they just skip the Earth? Let's move on. They then compare the humans to being insects. So yeah, let's sub the insects thing and the humans thing. I don't know. Because like humans and insects are living, I guess, and then I don't know where they're going with that. The narrative on then the logic of the classroom scene is made even worse by them not being able to determine like if humans or insects would outlive each other. So they set up something and they don't bother to explain what their take or explanation of it or anything on it. And these monster aliens, like the humans, don't have any science or actual general debating premise or argument or facts or representation or presentation of something or a language or something to debate or claim. So then let's skip that and talk about Tetsuo and Gosei waking up. And I don't know what I'm doing. Why am I still watching this? And I feel like I'm watching the prequels version of Dino Charge. Instead of ripping off E.T., they're ripping off Mighty Morphin. Samurai wasn't this bad. Like, Sanjiro's own thing, and the headache thing was a little bit of an homage, but I did feel like it was annoying. Like, the Rangers at least had their own stuff set up in Samurai. You know, had Kaku or whatever, the Doggy Kruger, or sorry, Master Grum actor looked like, actor human form of his human form was. Like, they're ripping off Samurai, I guess, but like, I don't know. There's too much ripping off in this series and franchise, and it's getting. I don't know. It didn't bother me as much because I was like, oh, I thought this was like a wink, wink, but like this is just getting annoying. Even like Dino Charge got annoying because like they don't know what they're doing. So anyway, then Gosei talks, and I have another headache. He says, aliens have landed on Earth. We must get Power Rangers. Dude, what the fuck are you? You're a freaking alien, Gosei. Any alien lands and you summon the Power Rangers? That's messed up. What about Orion? He shows up later in the series. What about other past Rangers? You know what I'm talking about. I'm moving on to the next point. So, back to Ernie. I realized, like, this is 99% coincidental, and I don't think they're smart enough to do something this messed up, but like, as in terms of racial stereotypes for an Indian character with an Indian accent, he's selling frozen drinks, but I don't know. Like, maybe it's a New Zealand thing and it's not anything in New Zealand, but I sort of don't think at this point anything's intentional, not to mention anything good or bad. Not to mention that this is the same team that brought Robo Knight to Africa during Christmas to teach Africans about Power Rangers, and not actually Christmas, during a Christmas special. So they did teach about Christmas during a Christmas special, and then talk about Power Rangers at a Christmas special. And then they didn't actually bother to teach Power Rangers. I won't start that again, so let's move on. So, they have this, they continue with insect fetish, which is weird. Like, again, I still don't know why at this point she's not basically a big bad Beetleborg. She talks about how beautiful the butterfly is, you know, opposed to like, you know, something a little bit riskier, like a slug or a millipede. Or like something that's not an insect, like a dog. But whatever. Or some bug with a mutation. Or is asymmetrical or injured. Or is hideous. Or has a surprise, or is like in someone's food. You get the point. Also, there's all these blurry shots, and it's like sort of hurting my eyes when I'm watching it on Netflix. And of course, the monster, ugly, kind of looking like a bug, makes everyone scared. That's great lesson to teach children. It's not like children have watched Star Wars: The Next Generation 20 years prior, and not learning about stuff logically, analyzing the situation, and figure out whether they should attack or make friends. Power Rangers, let's not make friends with aliens. Let's not make friends with people we've just met. And that's how far I got. The first 5 minutes into the show. How long did I talk for about this? 30 minutes! Oh shit. I gotta take a break. I'll see you guys later. Like, comment, and subscribe.